You may remember in the aftermath of the absolutely diabolical local election results for the Conservatives, there was an absolute wave, an absolute wave of seething and coping from all the Conservatives through everywhere to justify any single shining point they possibly could. Oh, you managed to hang on to like a single council seat while losing control of that council at the same time? Congratulations, I suppose. You lost thousands of other council seats, but you managed to keep that one. And this continued for some time, but it dropped off. But for this to come out now, and this is by Alexander Stafford. He is the MP for Rother Valley, I think it is. Yeah, Rother Valley. So this is one of the 2019 intake. This is one of the Redwall MPs. And I have said for quite some time, these are the people who will be the most desperate, the most desperate to do whatever they can to hang on to their seat out of any point of sheer desperation. So what you're going to see here today is coping in its purest form. This is absolute cope material. This guy is coping so hard. Why? Because we managed to hold on to a single council seat of a council that we do not control. And yet you look at the polling intentions for guys like this, yeah, his chances don't look good. And yet this is what we are going to think I see more of, especially on Conservative Home. They are going to cope as hard as they possibly can to try and justify to any length they possibly can of, oh, I'm going to hold on to my seat. Oh, I'm going to hold on to my seat. He cries into his blanket and soon to be possibly looking for another job. But let's go over this. And I warn you now, the cope here is delicious. It is absolutely delicious. And I am surprised this was not released back after those election results. But for those of you who are around that time and still wanting more of that precious copium, well, we've got more of it for you today. So please do remember to click on the like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page and a one-off link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can, buy me coffee. And of course, there is the YouTube thank you button and the YouTube subscription thing we've got called the Pony Club, where you can join that as well. So as always, thank you very much to all those people who do help and support the channel that way. Even if you do, just click the like and share button. Like I say, every little helps. And of course, on with this. So over we go to the premium source of Conservative cope. And oh my word, what this will be like after a general election loss. Oh my word. Yeah. I might have to start putting warning advertisements before my videos, warning Conservative cope overdose. Because oh boy, it's going to be it's going to be able to taste the words I'm giving to you from it. It's going to be that tasty. But here is just but a preview of what is to come. So over we go. Like I say, Conservative Home, Alexander Stafford. Why the Conservatives are still winning in South Yorkshire. Bear in mind, his definition of winning seems to be one council seat. Winning. So, while all the political tension is currently being focused on the upcoming elections in Mid-Bedfordshire, another by-election, this time for a council ward, shows that nothing is ever looking quite so rosy for Keir Starmer's quest for a majority. To be honest, all the polls are very much indicating that. But hey, you believe in that in that myth. In mid-July, the Conservatives managed to easily hold a council seat in a former Redwall seat of Rother Valley, where 10% where a 10% majority, a parliamentary seat that was elected its first ever Conservative MP in 2019, was Labour's safest seat in the 1970s, where the infamous Battle of Orgreave took place during the miners' strike. So he's celebrating a 10% majority in what it was essentially a local council election. Now, I've said multiple times how low turnout can be for most normal council elections. In off peak, um, by elections where it's not a main thing, the turnout can be even lower. And you'll notice he's not posting those figures because, yeah, he might have, quote, held it on by a 10% majority. But to be honest, unfortunately, not many people would have turned out. And the appetite for, shall we say, delivering defeats to Tories at a local level has now very much shifted to a national level and to MPs like this guy. And like I say, I know full well that there are already Labour activists out there in Rother Valley looking to supplant this guy and taking this guy down. But he'll still hold on to that sweet dream. So Dinnington, not far from Rotherham, South Yorkshire, is just the type of, quote, Redwall place that Labour needs to capture to win a majority in the next general election. A former mining town with parts that are both in the bottom 10% of deprivation in England, Dinnington only returned its first Conservative councillor in 2021 at the height of the Conservative vaccine boost. Really? So you are celebrating the fact that this one councillor managed to hold on to a seat by a 10% majority and got it during the Conservative vaccine boost. It's hardly, again, a winning formula you should be crowing about, but like I say, these Redwall guys, they are going to get even more desperate. So yeah, we'll see. And of course, the tough national headwinds. Dinnington should have been in easy pickings for Labour, especially at both a local and the National Labour Party threw everything at it. From high-profile visits during the campaign from Angela Rayner, Bridget Filson, to during the election to having over 35 activists out on one day. Labour strained every sinew, yet ultimately it failed. Indeed, Labour not only failed to take back the ward, but the Conservatives actually increased its vote share in the area. So what was the Labour vote share of this? Like, just as an interest from me, let's go take a look, shall we? Yeah. So as I thought, as usual, pitiful low turnout. The ballot papers that were issued were over 2,496 out of a possible electorate of over 9,000, with a turnout of just 27%. And the winning numbers were, of course, the local Conservative Party, which elected on 1,604. The next closest was, of course, the Labour Party, which was 820. Now, that's about, a 200-degree difference. But once again, I want to point out, if the Liberal Democrats had joined with Labour, well, they would have beaten the Conservatives in this ward. But once again, this is hardly something to really celebrate, where of about a possible electorate of over 9,000, only 2,000 actually turned up, and only a 27% turnout. And yet you're crowing about this as an electoral win. Yeah, it's hardly the stuff that winning is made of, shall we say. But anyway, let's go back to it. So this lot can be put down to the campaign and the candidates, but ultimately, Labour tried to fight an election on a time of a changed manifesto, presenting themselves as a new broom, failing to understand the mood or the context in which they were fighting. Okay, let's hear your explanation for this. So, where areas in the Redwall voted for Conservative for the first time in 2019, they wanted a change from the decades of neglect of being left behind. Well, you've hardly endured yourself to actually doing that. So he continues, and of course, that neglect was blamed not on the Conservatives but on Labour, who had controlled these areas as little fiefdoms. Again, buying into the whole local narrative that the Conservatives and local Conservatives all very much feed on, that oh, um, Labour are the only game in town. Um, they run it like their own fiefdoms. It's not surprising you hear this from every single disgruntled local elector. But the reality is, if you put a conservative or you vote in a conservative onto these local councils or you give them control, what they do is they go heavily into austerity. They start cutting public services in these areas. They start reducing council jobs. We've seen this time and time again. The idea that they are good at a local level and is completely false, because they just continue this mantra again and again and again. But there you go. So in Rotherham, Labour has controlled the council since time immemorial. So the message of change struck people as being hollow at best and disingenuous at worst, failing to understand the background as to why Labour had been so rejected previously. Well, here's the thing. Conservatives have been in charge for over the past 13 years now. Um, and you won on your promise of levelling up. What exactly have you done to improve Rotherham? Because if you ask a lot of rather, Rotherham residents, it's not like you've changed anything either for the fortunes of Rotherham compared to where you look at Barnsley Town Centre, massively changed under a Labour council, something that you are apparently saying is absolutely awful. So nothing could have brought this message home to residents of Dinnington more than a recent Freedom of Information request, which revealed that the Labour Council spent a paltry £11,000 in Dinnington over the last several years, equating to about 13 pence per person a year, whilst funding for tens of millions into grandiose white elephant projects away from Rother Valley residents. Well, okay, what exactly was that going into? Like, I have to ask, if you're going to sort of like, the council's got a very finite pot of money, one which your government has continually slashed, giving Labour councils even less than their Conservative counterparts. Um, what were their spending priorities? What they actually spending it on? If this has been a reduce in this area, as you said, oh, it equates to like 13 pence per person. What exactly are they focusing on? And are they trying to improve Rotherham as a whole? Or are you just trying to play on the fact of, oh, they haven't improved the area of Dinnington? Which, bear in mind, if you are their local council of that area, why are you then not also trying to drive initiatives to improve not only Rotherham as a whole? But anyway, since 2019, the government projects designed to level up the area have started to be enacted. And to be honest, none of these have really been that good. Like I say, you mentioned the fact Dinnington received about 12 million to regenerate the high street in the local Wales High School, getting over 13 million rebuilding program and a new 4.53 skills space in Maltby. The green shoots of levelling up are also starting to be seen by all and are starting to be seen by the voters. They do not see that. This idea that you were going to level up, this is nothing. 12, 30, 30 million to rebuild the schools. Gee, I wonder why you're mentioning that at a highly time of you know scandals around a potential concrete scandal. Wonder why he might be bringing that up. um But most of these things are drops in the bucket of what these things might need. Yeah, great. Malt begets a skills space, but what about all the rest of your constituents in Rother Valley? Like I say, leveling up has not been the grand success this guy's claiming it to be. It has been a drop, very much a drop. So in the ocean that these places need multi-million pounds worth of investment, not just a couple of million dropped here and then they can go mission accomplished, job done. Because I guarantee you, this guy is going to be running on how successful leveling up was. So all the Labour candidate has to do is just start trashing him on those areas, just full and completely on those regards. So it's going to be very easy for a lot of these the opposition to start trashing them how bad the leveling up campaign areas have been, because you went in saying these areas have been left behind. The Conservatives have left these areas behind more, even so, than any other previous government. So this is the danger that that Labour face. Whilst riding high on the current polls, indeed even in your area, um, the reasons why Labour lost the 2019 Redwall seats are still there. Well, no, what they wanted was they wanted an actual serious plan carried out. The whole leveling up scheme to them was the first time they were actually being listened to. And when you were given the opportunity to follow through with this leveling up campaign, Rishi Sunak, Boris Johnson, and the rest of your party, including yourself, abandoned this leveling up pillar as quickly as you possibly could, while meaningly just putting tiny, minuscule amounts of money. Now, of course, 12 million, 30 million, 4.5 million, as we said there, do seem like a lot of money to you or I. But when you're talking about investing and trying to actually level up these places, that's nothing in the grand scheme of things. It is absolutely nothing. And it's pitiful to say this, because guess what? You've had that infamous quote from Rishi Sunak, taking money from those poor areas while giving it to more affluent ones. Has that happened in Rother Valley? Would be interesting to find out, wouldn't it? So he continues. With the new investment in jobs and the hopes of starting to come online, there is little appetite from those who have experienced Labour-run areas to revert to them. But this is not just happening in Rotherham. At the local elections in May, similar areas such as Dudley, Peterborough, and Sadwell also produced disappointing results for Labour. Once again, these were the individual wins that they managed to crow about back when it's like, oh my god, we managed to hold on to this seat, but you lost overall control of the council and lost swathes more of councillors. Well, as we point out here, and especially in that local mayor general election one, wasn't, should we say, hardly the biggest win to start crowing about. The fact that you did win, okay, you can crow about it, but I wouldn't be crowing about the fact that it is, safe. Not only that, Labour-run areas compared to Conservative areas, well, we've seen what happens normally with a lot of these transitions where the Conservatives do take a hold. They just go into austerity. It's hardly, should we say, the best environment, because local Labour councillors always talk about investing in their local area, and that's what Labour councillors do more so than their Conservative counterparts throughout the country, because the Conservatives are all about cut, reduce, and then will apparently spend, but they never get to the spending because they are just constantly cutting and reducing. So let's finish this off then. So there is still a lot of goodwill and wanting and needing, of course, the Conservative government to push on and succeed. Well, they haven't succeeded in levelling up. That's the cold, hard fact. What happened in Dinnington in July away from the razzmatazz of the parliamentary by-elections is far more a useful assessment of Labour's progress in what once of its heartlands. And for all of its bluster, what happens in Dinnington shows that Labour still have an awfully long way to go, that the red wall is still a long way from being rebuilt. Not when you look at local polling intentions, not when you look at even the guys. This seat doesn't show you'll be winning it. Like I say, in a general election, there's no Brexit to play to this time. You're leveling up promises failed very, very much so. And the fact that you've got the Labour promise to new workers coming around, there's certainly new things that Labour are going to want to invest in because they do know that they need to invest in these areas. Something again they will have to prove because I'll tell you now, you've had what since 2019 to actually prove leveling up works. It hasn't been a roaring success that you guys are claiming. The money has not been as big as it really should be to level up these areas. And in reality, it's a drop in the ocean. Okay, these people get a new refurbished high street. But what about the shops in that high street? You know, the school gets remodeled, but about time. It should have been remodeled probably a long time ago. Um, yeah, this is nothing but the biggest cope ever. Oh my god, we managed to win one seat. We managed to hold on to that seat. We managed to hold on to that seat. Oh my god, the red wall is safe, guys. We managed to hold on to one council seat in an off-election by-election for a local election where we only had like a 200 vote, you know, percentage, vote increase. Um, I will tell you now on if people had turned out, if people had turned out, um, in a bigger number, and these had been a lot bigger, I don't think you would have won. I really don't think this guy would have won. Partly because, again, local by-election, off-season as well, didn't really spell too good fortunes for you, to be honest. So this is just a big cope session from Alexander Stanford, and he's probably one of the guys who is going to lose their seat at the next general election. And to be honest, good. He definitely deserves it. To be honest, like I say, he hasn't really improved the fortunes of the people for Rother Valley, and yeah, the people of Rother Valley, going by their voting intentions from what we can see in the polls, not gonna shall we say reward him for all his good work. But you hang on to that hope. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see from now up until the elections of, oh my god, we're going to be winning. And bear in mind, winning in South Yorkshire. Congratulations, you managed to hold on to one council seat out of the hundreds, thousands that exist in South Yorkshire, all of which are Labour controlled councils. Well, majority, shall we say, controlled Labour councils in South Yorkshire. So, yeah, you keep on coping, my friend. You keep on coping, because oh boy, if that's what soothes you at night, then yeah, oh boy, when the general election comes, I can't wait. I really, seriously cannot wait. Because oh boy, there's going to be a lot of upset tears, and it's just going to be music to my ears. And then, oh, the articles we are going to get in response to Conservative loss are going to be fantastic. So, as always, like I say, subscribe for the best Conservative copium you can get your hands out on. Just click on the button down below, and of course, as always, please do remember to click on the like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, if you are from that area, Didwell or in South Yorkshire, please let me know what you think about the Conservatives' chances of holding on to the red wall. Be highly amusing to see. But of course, as always, we'll see you all next time.